Hey guys, Thomas Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review the Belko Experiment. Now, when I first saw the trailer, I immediately thought of The Purge in an office setting, but it turns out that this is actually closer to Battle Royale, as it suggests at the top of the cover. So this announcement eventually says that a bunch of people have to kill each other, or a greater deal of people will die. But before that, we're introduced to our main character named Mike, his girlfriend, Wendell, this pervy guy, which is the mentor guy from Scrubs, Danny, who's this new girl, and Michael Rooker's character, who's this lower management repair guy. So, Mike calls Evan when he had noticed the guards outside were a little bit different than usual. He calls Evan and they talk about the situation, and as soon as they hang up with each other and that announcement is made, and then a lady tries to run out the store and the lockdown begins. With 88 people there, people start to conglomerate toward each other. Some people decide to go to the roof when they meet up, and others decide that they're going to smoke when they get up there. But Barry, who is the boss of this company, comes out and suggests that people calm down. And Roker's character tries to use a flamethrower, but it doesn't do anything. Wendell decides to get some water and passes it along, trying to calm down the situation. Now, Mike figures out some stuff about the military somehow, and at this point I'll stop summarizing for just a bit and say Mike's character is probably one of the biggest problems with this movie. And it's actually a very similar problem to Battle Royale, is that the main character just isn't that interesting, and how he figures stuff out is a little bit perplexing. It's just, oh, it must be this thing that is going on, and that is continuous throughout the movie. Now, I get what they were trying to go for, like this sort of casual guy, someone you can sort of insert yourself into, sort of casual guy. The issue with this is that that feels like it's more akin to a video game rather than an actual movie, where you want to see an actual character in a movie rather than a video game. Sometimes it depends on what type of video game you're playing, though. So I'll say that much for that. Anyways, the guard sees them and does nothing about the situation. That is, being Mike and his girlfriend, who are moving along. So, while they're on the roof, suddenly this girl's head just blows up. And the people on the roof, of course, are freaking out. And then someone in the office dies, and this is after a certain period of time, when they fail to comply to start killing each other, that is. So the boss notices that these aren't bullets, but rather there is something implanted in them, and again, Mike figures this out. So he tries to take out his own bomb, which fails. The announcer guy says that they are not allowed to do that. So the Scrubs guy, Wendell, tries to make some pervy moves on Mike's girlfriend, and she's not having any of it. In the meanwhile, the boss is trying to get the guard's keys so he can take out weapons. And the rest of the employees, especially Mike, are trying to make sure that that is not the case. Some people start to take out the cameras, but the announcement also says that they are not allowed to take out any more cameras. At this point, we are informed that there are 76 more people left. So, they need to kill 30 people in order for them not to kill 60, so the boss starts to compile everyone back down. But before that happens, this other guy who's following Michael Rooker's character and eventually kills him first. Uh, so Mike, again, being the guy who mysteriously figures out when things are happening, knows that this situation will not stop. So the boss uses his family to sucker in this other guy, this higher other management guy, as well as the Scrubs guy, Wendell. So Mike and his girlfriend are arguing about what's right and wrong after their little meeting, their little powwow about, what they need to do. The guard and Wendell and the boss go for the weapons, but the guard takes out a gun, willing to shoot, but Mike calms him down and then shoots the tank that is allowing that flamethrower to gain access to those weapons. So this sort of split is happening between the bosses or the higher ups and the lower management. The girlfriend says people are out for themselves, which is a little bit odd because later on she sort of pedals back on her sort of stance, but I'll get to that in a minute. Anyways, this guy in brown who is doing pot, I don't know what his name was, but he's like this typical kind of on drugs guy, and he says like, the water's doing it, man. So he's taking out all this water. And then the higher ups start shooting at the people at the roof because they were trying to hang a banner. And then another banner that they had created also falls. Mike finally realizes that yes, he cannot save everyone. And they had been tagged with those chips for over a year. This is where the girlfriend backtracks saying, oh, this is impossible. And that moment really made me go, what? You were just saying that people are like this, that this situation's normal now. So that took me out of the film for a few minutes. I won't deny that. That was very odd. Anyways, the boss hits Mike with a fire extinguisher, and the Wendell, the Scrubs guy, stabs the guard, then takes the keys, and now they have access to the weapons. The boss has the access to the weapons, and they plan to take out everyone in the lobby, or at least the majority of them. So one of the guys shoots out, and then everyone freaks out. They lead everyone back to that location, except for Danny, the new employee, who was down in the basement when this was all happening. So anyways, boss is starting to take out people who have kids under 18 and then everyone over 60, but they realize that they still don't have enough people to kill in order to save those with those situations. So they're highly doubtful of the situation, but they're getting closer and closer to figuring out that they just need to shooting people. Anyways, the Scrubs guy, Wendell, shoots some old guy in the corner, like when he denies access to getting a living, I guess, for a little bit longer. And that's when things start to take their toll. So they start killing the Scrubs guy and the boss guy, shooting people separately. And Mike almost got shot by one of the higher-ups, the one that was roped into the situation, as it were. And Danny makes the lights turn out, and then the rest of the employees start running about. Mike and some of the others start to fight back. So now we have this situation where there's fighting back, and more people are dying, and some of them were from the boss group, of course. So, but they don't meet the quota of they made it to 29, and we see Danny stop for this one guy. So there was 47 left, and now another additional 30 die, and now it drops all the way down to 17 people, I believe, at this point. And they switch up the rules to whoever can kill the most people will get to get out. Even though I don't think that was even necessary to be implemented, but regardless, that is the situation. And we see that Wendell is kind of getting nervous because they say how many people were killed by each individual. So he's starting to freak out, but the girlfriend character eventually kills him after he kills the two drugged guys, the one that went for the water and taking that out. So she gets her vengeance kill, but she gets hit in the process as well. So she eventually dies as well. Denny, who's still in the elevator, she was in there for a really long time, and her entire arc, or lack of thereof, I should say, eventually she gets shot, which kind of was a really big letdown. So this Molotov guy is throwing Molotovs, and he kills one other person. Where he got the Molotovs from, I assume he had a lighter on him, I don't know. But anyway, the boss kills Danny super fast, as I mentioned. She dies, like, the elevator door opens, the boss guy sees her, bam, shot. And that was kind of super lame, as I mentioned. And then that's when the girlfriend of the main character dies. So the boss character gives chase to Mike, and the Mike character fights back. And eventually Mike kills the boss. And it is announced that Mike is now the last guy alive, so everything lowers down. And the guards that were outside take him out. And he's taken inside this little building where the entire thing was being watched. So the voice guy, who is actually there, starts answering the question as to why, as he goes over why this is just an experiment and it doesn't really matter how things played out as long as the experiment was carried out. However, Michael used the bombs that the drugged guy took out earlier, and he placed them on the guards, and he kills all of them, and then he finally kills the voice guy. So he steps out, and then the camera pans back into this bigger screen filled with a bunch of other candidates who I imagine also got out of very similar buildings or a scenario. I imagine this Belko place was scattered throughout several states, maybe, and that all these other people are from other experiments. So a bit of sequel bait at the end, and I don't know if this movie was successful or not, but I assume that the sequel would take place from the people who made it out now have to go against each other. So that is the Belko Experiment, and I thought that it was okay. It has its fair share of issues, and the biggest issue I mentioned earlier is that Michael is a character that isn't really a character. He's just a pretty generic insert yourself into him if you can type of character. And again, to me, that is also the same issue with Battle Royale. And he's not the only one. Other characters who are in the office also suffer from a lack of character development. No, the movie doesn't even really focus too much on the whole death thing. Like, I thought they were going to go a bit more extreme with it, and the only death that seems to get to that point was Mike's kill against the boss. Other than that, all the other kills are mainly from them failing to comply and then getting blown up. Like, that was the majority of the deaths. And that wasn't the case in comparison to Battle Royale, since, this clearly wants to compare itself to Battle Royale. It says it right there. Office Space meets Battle Royale. So that's what I'm doing. I'm comparing it to Battle Royale. It makes sense, right? The difference between Battle Royale, even though its issues are with the main character are the same, is that the other characters have a bit of more flair to them than the main character, and that is where the Belko experiment fails. I feel like the characters that we kind of are forced to follow, which are the higher up management characters and Danny, I feel like these characters were really also let down characters when it came down to it. So at the end of the day, I think this movie gets a 4 out of 10. I feel, or even a 5 out of 10. I feel either half of this movie was like to my standards or even a bit lower than that. Other than that, this movie was a bit disappointing, to be honest. I was kind of expecting a little bit more. The trailers made it seem like there were going to be a bit more sides being played at here. Uh, a bit more gruesome deaths, perhaps, between actual characters killing each other, but that never really happens, except again, for Michael killing the boss. It's like the only exception. Other than that, this movie just was kind of eh. And that's kind of the biggest problem. So again, 4 to 5, 5, I mean, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10 score. So with that being said, I'll end it here. So my name is Thomas Cicillo Jr., aka Mustached Tom, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!